What's up, fight fans? Ryan Thomas here, back again for another UFC post-fight reaction show, this time UFC 267, taking place, obviously, this past Saturday. I am going to recap the event, all of the big things that happened on this stacked card that was UFC 267, taking place during the afternoon. I have to say, I enjoyed watching the fights Saturday afternoon rather than at Saturday night at 10 o'clock. I was able to watch them, be awake, be alert. Saturday night, 10 o'clock, when these pay-per-views start on the East Coast at 10, for the East Coast people, New Yorkers, Pennsylvania, all the states that are big UFC fans watching these late pay-per-views, you can get a little tired from time to time, especially after a long work day like myself working on Saturdays. It can be pretty tough. But watching these fights at 2 o'clock rather than at 10 o'clock, to me, was a huge difference in terms of how I was able to watch it and enjoy it. I greatly enjoyed watching the fights from start to finish. A stacked card. I'm going to be going over all the big things that happened at UFC 267. 2 title fights between Jan Blachowicz as well as Glover Teixeira, of course, going at it in the main event. And then in the co-main event, Petr Yan for the vacant UFC bantamweight title against Corey Sandhagen. Let's get right to it. Of course, I remind you guys that I would love to get some of your comments in the show, read your comments. While this is a pre-recorded show, I'll still be able to respond to the comments after the fact. So throw those comments down. I will get the alert, the notification on my phone, of course, and see that you guys are commenting, and then I'll be able to answer some of your questions that you have for me. So without further ado, addressing the elephant in the room that is Glover Teixeira becoming the oldest fighter to win a UFC title for the first time at the age of 42. Glover Teixeira gets it done against Jan Blachowicz. And I went into this fight thinking, okay, anything can happen. Glover Teixeira is the rightful #1 contender for the UFC light heavyweight title, and Glover Teixeira got it done and then some. This fight wasn't even close. This fight was old man strength in the first round. Glover Teixeira throwing around Jan Blachowicz, getting that early high crotch to a double leg takedown. Beautiful timing on that as well in the first round. Able to implement his game, maintain top position within that first round. Second round starts off, they're on the feet, of course. And Jan Blachowicz was starting to land some really good punches. But Glover Teixeira landed a massive left hook that I think had Jan on the back foot, that hurt Jan badly, that had Jan badly hurt, of course, and then shortly thereafter, Glover Teixeira initiates that clinch, and Jan Blachowicz actually, it was like a weird transition where he pulled guard. It looked like he was trying to grab for an arm or something of that nature, and kind of slips off. Then Jan is back in bottom position. Glover's back in top position, flattens out Jan, gets that rear naked choke, and it was a quick tap from Jan Blachowicz, the now former UFC light heavyweight champion. I will throw this out there. A quick tap from Jan in this main event. It's a rarity to see a fighter give up his belt that quickly via tap. I've never seen anything quite like it, but my hypothesis here, just my opinion, I think that left hook really hurt Jan, whether it was a broken jaw or just he was just so badly hurt. I just truly think that Jan was hurt at that point. He wasn't really aware of what was going on. And it was apparent to me when the fight was over that Jan was just devastated, of course, losing his belt. But Jan really didn't know how quick he had just given up his title. Really wasn't aware of the situation. Obviously, he was aware that he lost, but he wasn't aware of how quick he actually tapped. And this was a feel-good moment in the history of the sport. It's a rarity that you see the old guard, still kicking for one, let alone winning titles. And this was Glover Teixeira's last shot at winning a title. Without a doubt, this was probably his last fight if he lost this fight. Now that Glover Teixeira is the champion, sometimes people say in order to be the champion, you not only have to beat the champion, but you have to defend the title. You're not a champion until you defend the title. And I think Glover Teixeira will look to defend the title within the next few months here, because this was a quick fight for him. He didn't really have any damage accrued in this fight. didn't take too much damage, too many shots, too many bumps and bruises. Not too many were on Glover Teixeira after this performance, and I truly feel that Glover will get that chance to defend his title. The question is, who will Glover Teixeira fight in his first UFC light heavyweight title defense? Jiri Prochazka is a name that is first mentioned, and Jiri is a young fighter that has a devastating striking game, would pose a real threat to Glover for that championship. Jan Blachowicz, despite the fact that he took that O away from Israel Adesanya, despite the fact that he won the title off of Dominic Reyes, who went toe-to-toe with John Jones, Jan's now in the background. He's in the background. He's not going to be fighting for a title anytime soon. When you tap in a title fight as a champion, you're really put back. So Glover is going to fight Jiri, I think, at some point in the next few months. The fact that Glover was able to pull this off and get this win under all the circumstances of his career that I know full well of. Glover Teixeira was a close, tight-knit sparring partner of former UFC light heavyweight champion Chuck Liddell, one of the biggest names in the sport's history. He tried to break into the UFC around 2004, 2005, which was a huge crossroads point, launching pad point, I should say, for the Ultimate Fighting Championship at the time. That first season of The Ultimate Fighter, Glover Teixeira was trying to get on that show, was unable to do so due to visa issues, and 5-6 years later, finally brought into the UFC, gets that title shot off of 5 straight wins against, top-level competition, fights a young champion by the name of John Jones, who was and still is, the youngest man to ever win a UFC title, loses that fight, claws his way back up, loses to Rumble, claws his way back up, loses to Gustafsson, claws his way back up, and now wins the title against Jan Blachowicz. It was a fantastic performance from Glover Teixeira. It was a feel-good moment, and to be honest, my eyes were not dry. My eyes were watery. I was excited. I was happy. I was jovial for Glover Teixeira. My only regret is that I didn't place a bet on the fight. It's my only regret. Plus 235 for Glover Teixeira, and I didn't place a bet on him. Shame on me. Glover Teixeira, more likely than not, will be taking on Jiri Prochazka in his next fight. On to Jan versus Sandhagen. Recapping Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen for the UFC interim bantamweight title. Obviously, with the whole Aljamain Sterling situation, we're really unaware as to when Aljamain will be back. At some point, it'll be sooner rather than later. I truly feel that Jan was the rightful pick in this fight. I didn't do fight picks. I didn't do a pre-fight show. Didn't have the time, but I would have picked Jan to win this fight. As much as I love Corey Sandhagen, Petr Yan is just so well-rounded, so fast, so agile at 135 pounds. His hand speed is truly rare, let alone at 135. He has the hand speed of a flyweight as a 135er fighting at, let's say, 140, 145. So not only does he have the hand speed, he has the power that most fighters at that weight class just can't keep up with. I feel like, Corey Sandhagen's got to be hanging his head a little bit, but he shouldn't be, because Corey Sandhagen fought tooth and nail with both TJ Dillashaw and Petr Yan, two former, now you could say Yan a current, once again, bantamweight champion, even though it's an interim title, until that title is unified between Yan and Sterling. Sandhagen did what he does best. There were moments in the fight where he definitely won moments of the fight, but the majority is, as far as scoring the fight, 5-round fight. If you were to compare Sandhagen's performance against Dillashaw and Sandhagen's performance against Yan, they were almost the same fight, except for the fact that Yan is a little bit faster than TJ Dillashaw. And I think that was a true disparity there in the skills of Yan and Sandhagen. That's where we saw Sandhagen come up very short in terms of the speed department. Sandhagen, a very active fighter, throwing far more strikes than Yan throughout the fight. But a lot of those strikes went to waste. And I think if I'm Corey Sandhagen, I'm looking at this fight, going back to the drawing board, coming off of 2 straight losses. Less is more in these tight-knit 5-round fights. Yan was avoiding a lot of these strikes. Sandhagen was throwing a large number of strikes in comparison, especially to Yan. and they weren't exactly landing. They weren't exactly power shots. Sandhagen was trying to get the win off of points, and you can't blame him for that. But at the same time, I think he went about it the wrong way. Petr Yan, I think, is the rightful UFC bantamweight champion. To call him that, I think, is a fair assessment of his skill set, of his career. And I think that Yan will get that belt back and unify the title against Sterling. Not to count my chickens before they hatch, but I just don't see anybody getting past Petr Yan in the 135-pound UFC bantamweight division. To recap, Islam Makhachev versus Dan Hooker. For Islam Makhachev to go in there against Dan Hooker and to win that fight in that dominant of fashion, winning that fight via submission in the first round, Dan Hooker taking this fight was a true risk for him, a true test for him. Hats off to him for taking this fight on short notice, and hats off to Islam Makhachev for putting himself in the right position to win this fight and to cement himself as a top 5 UFC lightweight in the 155-pound division. Of course, the lightweight division, the men's, obviously lightweight division, there isn't a women's lightweight division, but you get the point. Top 5 in 155. Islam Makhachev is for real. I look forward to seeing who is next for him. We have a few fights to digest in the next few months that are crucial for the UFC 155-pound weight division, the lightweight weight division. Dustin Poirier taking on Charles Oliveira for the title, as well as Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler, which takes place this Saturday night, MSG, UFC 268. Cannot wait for that fight as well. And last and certainly not least, the phenom Khamzat Chimaev does it again, winning this fight with relative ease versus Li Jingliang. Very excited for Khamzat, wondering what's next for him. Rumors are swirling that Nate Diaz could be next for him. We'll see. I think Khamzat's a great fighter. To close out the show, I think Khamzat's a great fighter, but I do think the UFC, they should move him along a little slower. Believe it or not, 4-0 in the UFC, but despite that, 4-0 against guys that are on the outside looking in as far as being a UFC rostered fighter, I should say. Lee is a great fighter, top 15 guy. Before we get into putting Khamzat in there with Nate Diaz and Jorge and all those guys, I think we should slow our roll a little bit and put Khamzat in there with someone that is a top 15, another top 15, maybe a top 10 rather than a top 7 or 8. It is a difference. There is levels to this game, and I think Khamzat's a great fighter, but I wouldn't move him along this quickly. I'm Ryan Thomas, and that was my UFC 267 post-fight reaction podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. A short show, but I got a lot of stuff to digest for you guys, a lot of stuff for you guys to tune in to throughout the rest of this week, whether it is the UFC 268 pre-fight show or my Buffalo Bills post-game show, which will be on tonight. Tune in. Stay safe, everybody, of course. Enjoy November. No Shave November. I'm already getting a head start. Take care, everybody, and go Bills. Looking forward to November 6th, UFC 268, my pre-fight reaction, pre-fight picks, pre-fight preview coming at you soon. Take care.